Eagle Community Television presents Community Connection with your host, Mike Cooper.
Hello and welcome to Community Connection from Eagle Community Television, our community connected. Thanks for watching. Thanks to our producer, Jeff Duvall. We're at Forsyth Library on the campus of Fort Hays State University, talking with Library Director John Ross. And we are in the Maker's Space location at Forsyth Library, which is actually downstairs. What you are seeing is the new display of Fort Hays State's website in conjunction with Sternberg Museum and the digital fossil collection that we wanted to talk to John about. So John, take it away. What's included in this process of digital fossil collections?
Okay, thank you, Mike, and we're very fortunate to be working with Sternberg Museum on this project, and we've had a team of students and staff working with the Sternberg staff on photographing and then providing the metadata for the fossil collection. And the fossil collection that we began working with was the Mosasaur collection, which is very significant for Sternberg Museum. And once the photography and digitization is complete and the metadata is written, then we display that on our Forsyth Library website. And I'll briefly walk through how to get to the collection, and that we're now looking at the Forsyth Library website. We go over to the right-hand side and page down until we see digital collections. And this page shows all of our digital collections that we've worked with at the library. We've had work with the Kansas Cosmosphere on digitizing the artifacts from the space race. We've worked with historic societies, and we show that work on here. And other rarities. This is some of the work from the Stafford County Historic Museum that I'm paging through.
All of these have contact information for folks who want to explore
Yes.
further, right, John?
Yes. And I'll click on the site for the fossils.
I believe you have some 900
Yes,
that you're
that's
working
correct. And this is a fairly easy site to access, in that to the right you can see the individual photos of the fossils. If I go to the left, I can click on the arrow, and different fossil sets will pop up, and then we can click on any one of those.
And you can display whichever one is of interest to you.
That
then
is
from
correct.
that.
And these are all in very high resolution photography, and I'll click on this one to start with.
Some 900 in the collection now, out of approximately how many in the Sternberg collection, would you say, John?
In terms of the Mosasaur collection, we've probably hit about a third of what they have. And we chose, they did the selection with the intent of showing the best specimens that we could on site. And then really we also wanted to show specimens that are not accessible by the public, not displayed in the museum.
Eventually more will be added to the collection then, and the display. All right, you've clicked on that one. Talk about that.
Well, I think one of the things to show is that, first of all, is the high resolution photography here, and we can see the different strata of the fossil and the different colorations, different markings, and I can move around and actually highlight areas of it, so that if we were doing research or wanting to show this to a team of researchers, that we could do that. This particular piece, I would say, is from part of the vertebra of the Mosasaur.
I was going to ask you if there's information on the site about where it was found and
There
a little
is.
bit more detailed information. For
We
people.
usually don't show the actual site of where the fossil is shown, or where it was found, because
Protection
there are
purposes.
collectors, yeah, and we need to protect those sites. We'll show a general area and then show the fossil name and the species and those type of things.
Would this have been from Kansas?
This particular one probably is from Kansas. I'll page to a different one here, which is a jaw fragment.
Now, John, you stated your goal is to present a collection that appeals to the research community as well as to K through 12 students. So eventually you want to get students involved in this in addition to the research that's ongoing.
Well, that's correct, Mike, and part of my reasoning in moving towards this project was that I think back to when I was an 8th grader and needing to write a report for a class and how difficult it was at that time to find any information. And so we're wanting to have something that appeals to those 8th grade students and makes it easier to do a research project. But we're also thinking of that postdoc student or a researcher who could be from Japan or anywhere that wants to study mosasaurs, thinks that Sternberg is a good place to come to, but wants to know more about the collection before they make that trip. And on this piece that I've brought up here, this is part of a jaw fragment, and I can zoom in.
Boy, that imaging is just really finely detailed, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And if we're looking at this from a research point of view, having that ability to view the fossil from a distance, I think is just extraordinary. The idea too is that if you're planning to do work on a particular fossil group and you want to know what the museum has, this is a good starting point.
And you can go into a lot of different views of the fossil itself, much like if you were actually holding or seeing it in a display, you can see different angles and viewpoints.
Right. We are also experimenting with the 3D imaging of fossils, and I'll click over to an image that we've done just on a preliminary basis here, kind of in response to your question.
And this is really brand new, isn't it, John?
This is
the
very
3D
brand
scanning.
New. There are institutions around the country and around the world that are starting to do this, and we've used a 3D scanner to capture an image of a vertebra with the idea of putting it online so that, again, if you're curious about this, you could look at the fossil, rotate it around, and look at every side of it.
It's like being able to hold it in your hand and actually up close turn it and move it and see it from different angles.
That's right. And so this is the next stage of our development in terms of digitizing the fossils and increasing access to the collections.
Now these are fixed position 3D scanners, but eventually you hope to have a handheld.
Yeah, we would
scanner.
really like to have a scanner that would allow us to do large specimens. And as an example, Sternberg has a 24-foot long mosasaur fossil. It's a complete fossil. It's very, very noteworthy, and that Sternberg has that. It's one of the few complete ones, and it would be really neat to take that handheld scanner and scan that complete fossil.
Right now you can't fit it into a 3D scanner
We
that's in a
certainly
fixed
cannot.
position.
No, no, our scanner is a little bit limited in what it can reproduce. So that would be a big asset for us to have that.
And hopefully sooner rather than later then, so you
right.
could add this to the collection as well. Talk about the benefits, if you would, because we are in the maker space here. Talk about the benefits of this new 3D scanning technology and a couple of the students you referenced that are working on things.
We use the maker space as a creative space for the community. And I really want to stress that it's a university space, but it's also a community space.
Everybody from elementary right on through,
through
Fort Hays State students.
And we've built this space around 3D technologies to a point in that we have a 3D scanner, we have 3 3D printers that the public can use. And images can be downloaded or it can be created in CAD and then printed. And then we also have a device that allows the sculpting of 3D images. That's called a Leonardo 3D. And we have a communications class that is using that to describe communication theories in 3D. So essentially they wear 3D glasses, they have a 3D monitor with sensors that are tied to it, and then they can use a wand to sculpt 3D. In terms of our 3D printing, we have one student who is doing asteroid research in the makerspace and has printed a model of the asteroid that he was tracking. So there's a lot of different things going on in terms of 3D scanning. We have a student who is comparing bird bones with fossils, and so she's been scanning pheasant bones in 3D. We'll eventually print those out and then is comparing those to the fossils in that way. So there's a lot of great research coming out of this space.
And that asteroid study is being done by a CAM student,
By a
Kansas Association of Math and Science.
Right.
While we're on that topic, would you grab that piece of information talking about an event that I believe is coming up this summer, right, John?
Right, and the library is in partnership with the Science, Math, and Engineering Institute, which is directed by Paul Adams. And Paul has been very active in hosting summer camps for high school students and for K through 12 instructors. And there are a number of camps that will be hosted in this makerspace during the summer. One of those is a science camp for girls, and they're working with e-textiles and using Arduinos, which are small microcontroller devices, to add electronics to sewing. And we are conducting a 3D workshop midsummer in this space. There are science camps for rocketry that are going on, a number of camps that are starting at the beginning of the summer and going all the way through the summer in this space.
More information available through Fort Hays State University, a nice little handout brochure too. Talk about, if you could in our last couple of minutes, John, the benefit to education and study of the setup here at the Makerspace and the 3D imagery and technology.
Well, we are all makers in that we all have hobbies, and we do things in our garages, we tinker with things, and so the Makerspace takes that inclination to tinker at a different level and says, okay, well, what can we learn from that? So students, community members, anyone can come in here and do something. It could be sewing, for instance, but at the same time we're learning about science and engineering and different skills from what we're working with. So during the fall semester, we brought in a class of fifth graders to learn about rocketry. So we had 50 fifth graders in here as a community service project, in that we were reaching out to the schools and showing how to build rockets, but it's also very educational because we're learning about thrust, payloads, and those type of issues associated with rocketry. We are also doing robotics workshops in here, so there's another side of education, but it really comes back to that ability to create and to learn from how you're creating.
And giving the community an opportunity for the advantages which Fort Hays State University bring to us, thanks to the work of John Ross, who is the director of Forsyth Library, and Sternberg Museum, and its head, Dr. Reese Barrick. Our guest today from Fort Hays State University and Forsyth Library, John Ross, and our community connection. Thanks for watching.